welcome to Jose Tsunohara Show. Today's guest is again Richie Stotts, and it is part 3.
So the songs were very short, and there was very little space between each song. And that is 3 minutes for 8 songs. 8 times 3 is 24 minutes. But what I wanted to say about Tommy Ramone before was when Tommy Ramone came to our show one time, I was all excited. Here comes the Ramones guy. And I said, Tommy, I said, what do you think, what do you think about the band? And he says, you got to get another guitar. And I go, what do you mean I got to get another guitar? You're up there tuning sometimes, your string breaks. You need to have another guitar when things are going wrong. And I got another guitar. So it keeps the flow going. And that in those days, that was a new concept. I mean, before then it was the Grateful Dead or Jimi Hendrix tuning and playing all crazy and stuff like that. Nowadays, if you see a band on stage, they all have backup guitars and stuff. And I think the Ramones
they're headed.
They were ahead of the game. They had backup guitars. By the way, he came again and he says, now you need a backup amp. And he's right. He's right, because it keeps the show going. And
the blow up, like
yeah. So it's nothing to do with like how good are the songs. It's more about
they started out 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then you started it. Then Rod called me. Can you speak Japanese count? So I said, what the fuck he's talking about? And I never heard, even in Japan, counting in Japanese for the beginning of the song, even in Japan.
Not like a jazz band going, each. Hey.
No. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like even jazz, anything, everything.
I wasn't pronouncing that correct.
No, but that's a Western thing. If Japanese traditional, maybe like 8th century, 9th century stuff, they count different way.
Right.
But is it rock and roll, jazz? No way.
But you started counting down, going in Japanese.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. Okay.
I was kind of really embarrassing, but I used to do karate exercise, and the karate you have to scream, and then that technique I used, eat, me, say, she,
Yeah.
I was like, only that I can do it. If I do 1, 2, 3, 4, that doesn't work,
Yeah.
So,
well, you did it great. And then we had some kind of coffin. Remember we had the coffin?
Yeah.
We had this coffin on stage. It just was on the stage, like a coffin, black coffin, but in these letters that were Japanese, right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's like a old Japanese, and then not even the current Japanese can read, because that was it's like they used up to 19th centuries.
Well, no, I got that microphone, Zuchi. Go ahead.
It's like old traditional Chinese character used for the ancient script.
Wait a second, that's Chinese characters?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
It's a Japanese pronunciation. But Japanese is imported, they use Chinese characters. Right.
Okay.
So that was actual traditional Chinese. Even Chinese don't use anymore.
Okay.
That's ancient.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so that coffin was, and White Golf was there. It was violin players coming out.
Oh, yeah, that's
John Rockwell. The name of the John Rockwell was the guy. He's the same name as a New York Times reviewer.
See, that's the funny thing about the Plasmatics, is that we had a lot of fun with the Plasmatics, and one of them, it's a lot of an inside joke. There was a New York Times reviewer called John Rockwell, and he's kind of stodgy, and he's New York Times, but we also had a guy named John Rockwell that was sort of helped with our equipment, but one of our songs, I think it was Butcher Baby, he would kind of burst out of the coffin with like a mask on playing violin, and he was John Rockwell, not of the New York Times. He was listed as not of the New York Times. Now, not everybody might have gotten that. That was a little high, lowbrow joke.
Yeah. Inside joke, but
Yeah.
it became like a, published.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then the real John Rockwell hated us.
Oh, that's what we did. We had reviews. We had these posters, and there was reviews that said, great show, incredible band, John Rockwell, not of the New York Times. Okay, now I get it. I forgot it.
And then we got bad review. Do you know it? Remember? When New York Times wrote John Rockwell wrote it actually. And then it was it's a horrible review.
Yeah.
And then
But
because of that, because
yeah. Well, I think we were sort of, any publicity was good publicity at the time.
And then the best one was So News, and also Michael Musto wrote for interview.
Yeah.
That was one of the best review we got.
And there was another magazine called the Soho Weekly News, which was, but we were on the cover of that. Anyway.
Yeah, that was Alan Pratt.
Oh, Alan Pratt. Oh, yeah, that was another guy.
Yeah.
Michael Musto didn't do that. I forgot. I get all these people confused. But Michael Musto is still around, and he's like, but he was a nice guy. But I haven't seen him, pretty much since then. I mean,
Right.
He's a big shot now.
Anyway, so he wrote an interview magazine, and then I was one of the biggest, the distribution that time for nationally, and then finally we got recognized. But thing is, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for big stage.
I think my goal at the time I met you was to play a weekend at CBGB's. That was it.
Yeah,
That was my goal. I was like, that's it. I'm just going to play a week, because CBGB's right around 77, 78 was really getting very, it was getting crazy. Ramones, Blondie, all these bands. And I was like, I just want to play a weekend too, like these guys. And maybe the big thing, if you could do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all 4 days at CBGB's. And then you didn't have to move any equipment. You could go home. Thursday, you go home, and then the equipment's already there. Oh, and also, so.
Well, we played in Connecticut, and then Phillies. We even went to Boston.
Oh yeah. I never. When we played Boston, I never was in Boston before, and I lived in the United. Where I grew up is not very far from Boston. That was my first experience. I remember when we went to the hotel. I was like, I think there was a pool in the hotel, and I was like, oh my God, look at that. There's a pool in the hotel.
Funny. Yeah, we played one time a rat scare.
The rat in Boston, and we went up there on a Sunday and played, and it was all flooded out. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
And it was flooded out. We weren't.
It was half basement.
Yeah, we couldn't. We were maybe not going to there was a risk that we weren't going to play, and we were down there with buckets and everything, filling the buckets up, throwing them out.
I remember
the rat.
that carpet was like a soaking wet.
Yeah, a little gross.
Yeah, anyway.
little carpeting doesn't work, with the water.
Yeah, like playing in the small band. That time Plasmatics wasn't. It's like we're a small band, so we had to do everything ourselves. We put in the poster up ourselves. Actually, just you and me. We're doing an entire city, covering up.
Stu helped a little bit, didn't he? Stu helped.
2 days.
We really, people would say, like, here's another thing I was saying, like, oh, don't play too long about a band. I don't want to be too mean. That's a little harsh. But, like, people say, how come you guys are all over the place? We had all these posters printed up before a show, and we went out not only to, like, 2 weekends, maybe even 3 weekends before a show, and postered all over the city and on the lampposts and everything like that. Now, we did get in a little competition, as we called the big boys, right?
Yeah.
The big boys, the people that put the big Broadway shows on, the Madison Square Garden, and they'd come in with ladders and stuff, and we learned from them. We drove around the van. We had a ladder, and we had wheat paste, and then we learned some other type of paste, and we had it all over us. And we'd do it in the middle of the night, going around putting all this stuff up. And it was a lot of hard work. But not only did that, we did the postering, we moved equipment, but we just didn't move the music equipment. We moved TV sets. We moved John Rockwell's coffin. We had a stand to chainsaw the guitars up. And before the show, we had to go pick up guitars. We had to pick up dry ice. It was just like insane how much, like, most bands just come in with their guitar amps and stuff like that. We just came in with everything, And
we didn't have any money.
Yeah, and we did it all. So, like, you were like wearing 2 different hats. It's like the Three Stooges, You come in and you do something, and then behind the curtain we'd come back out. Here we are, setting up stuff. But that was the fun, we were young kids, and we drove around in the van and almost killed ourselves a few times.
We almost got a big fight, and then
what fight was that?
Parking my car, and then that you were sitting next to me. I got involved with fighting with the other driver. I don't know.
Did you have that Citroen or whatever, French car?
Yeah.
He had a car, Citroen car. You get into it, and it's like, you turn it on, it raises like this and stuff like this. I never saw a car like that. It's like all French car.
Oh,
Citroen. I don't know. Yeah.
Citroen. It's a nice car, but it was like.
What happened with this fight now?
No. I was parking on Borough Street, and then one guy moved out, and I slid in, and actually guy was waiting in front of us, and then he got really mad at me, and then I got out in the car, and almost got a real big fight, But anyway.
What did I do? Just sit in the car?
No, you were sitting in the car.
I was ready to jump in. Don't worry. But that's just typical stuff,
Typical stuff.
Did you ever see the Seinfeld episode? The Seinfeld episode?
No, everything though. So I saw some of them.
Yeah, there's one episode where I think George drives in this way, and they have a big argument on which way you're supposed to get a parking space. Anyway, either you go in head first, and it was a standoff there. But people fight about parking spaces and stuff.
I remember Rod became nuts when you had somebody cut his off on that van. Oh. he chased him, and
he was a very aggressive driver.
He was had a Kawasaki, like a.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I rode in the back, he was gentle, it's like, it's fine. He knows how to ride. And then Wendy's always in the back, the summertime, going to this, like a nude beach, I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't say this one. Anyway, it was a fun time.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the thing is, I was like a NYU student, and then I had to give up. No, not give up. First semester was fine. And the second semester started in September. And then Rod and you, and then we have to sign a contract. So means, and then you ask me, do you have a lawyer? What the fuck she's talking about? I didn't know what the contract means. I know the contract,
What?
but we have to sign a management contract. And then, but it was 2-3 days to like sign it. And then you ask me, do you have a lawyer? Why do I have a lawyer?
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I didn't have a lawyer either.
So you told me, you sign it, what's the difference? Just sign it.
You're blaming me.
No. It's like, I didn't know, if I don't sign it, I'll be out of the band. That was the point. And then I had to sign it if you want to play in the band or leave. That's the two choice. And then
I had the same choice too, actually.
and the thing is, and then I was like, problem was once I signed it, and then I had to commit entire life to the band, and then I couldn't go back to school.
Okay.
And problem is, I get so much gigs and everything. I had to practice or rehearse, and then I thought I had to take one semester off,
Okay.
and I can go back to the school.